A federal judge slams the phone on the NSA, ruling the spy agency's collection of your calling information is illegal. This is Special Report. Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. You can bet there are plenty of phone calls back and forth between the NSA and the Obama administration tonight. That's because a judge today said the agency's program to collect data about virtually every call in the U.S. is unconstitutional. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge has been on her phone all afternoon and has reaction. Good evening, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Brett. In his 68-page opinion, U.S. District Court Judge Richard Leon finds that the bulk collection of Americans' phone records, known as Section 215 of the Patriot Act, appears to be in conflict with the Fourth Amendment. The key paragraph reads in part, quote, "Plaintiffs have a very significant expectation of privacy. The NSA's bulk telephony metadata program significantly intrudes on that expectation. I have serious doubts about the efficacy of the metadata collection program as a means of conducting time-sensitive investigations in cases involving imminent threats of terrorism." The suit brought by Larry Klayman of the conservative group Freedom Watch against the Obama administration challenged the constitutionality of the bulk collection of phone records and the NSA's authority to do so. Tonight, the ruling is described by civil liberties groups as a setback for the Obama administration and the NSA.
The reasoning is broad enough that it effectively holds the whole program to be unconstitutional. So I don't think that it's going to be easy for the government to argue that this program should continue, given that a federal judge has held that it's illegal, that it violates the Fourth Amendment.
Democratic Senator Patrick Leahy, who introduced the USA Freedom Act, which would end the bulk collection of phone records, said in a statement, quote, "Americans deserve an open and transparent debate about the constitutionality, efficacy, and appropriateness of the government's dragnet collection programs. I welcome today's district court ruling." And late today, the NSA leaker Edward Snowden issued a statement saying he acted on the belief that the NSA programs could not withstand the scrutiny of the federal courts and would be found unconstitutional. The court's decision is on hold tonight, pending an almost certain appeal by the Justice Department, where a spokesman emphasized that they believe the phone records program is constitutional, with judges on the national security courts sharing that opinion, Brett.
Okay, we'll follow it. Catherine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Division in the government tonight over whether to offer amnesty to the former contractor who revealed harmful secrets about the agency. The head of the task force assessing the damage caused by Edward Snowden tells CBS he's willing to consider it. But NSA Director Keith Alexander indicates he is not. And this afternoon, the White House said its position that Snowden should face due process has not changed. There are concerns tonight about the people assigned to help guide you through the Obamacare sign-up system, skepticism about the law in general, and alarm over the role politics has played and how the administration has done business. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry has all of that tonight.
House Republicans continued their assault on President Obama's health care law today, with a field hearing in Texas zeroing in on the workers who try to help enroll people. Republican Chairman Darrell Issa, a frequent critic, aired allegations the so-called navigators have weak background checks that may expose consumers' personal information to fraud, as well as claims that navigators have tried to encourage enrollees to lie about their income in order to raise their subsidies.
We cannot have a repeat of the Acorn-like activities that led to too many people believing that there was something for nothing and ultimately ending up with nothing when they started with something.
White House spokesman Jay Carney was harsh in his rebuttal, declaring Issa is a partisan merely trying to undermine the law at all costs.
This is just one more data point in the Republican obsession with sabotaging Obamacare. All navigators must complete about 20 hours of training, including training on privacy issues. And this training is not a one-time only process.
Another batch of polls, however, suggest a broad cross-section of the country is skeptical of the law, beyond Republicans and beyond the millions who have received cancellation notices. A new AP GFK poll shows 76% of Americans who currently have health insurance blame rising premiums and deductibles on the president's law, While a new USA Today Pew poll shows an alarming drop in the president's support among young people, 45% of 18 to 29-year-olds approve of his job performance, a dip of 22 percentage points in the last year.
It's going to cost more, accessibility is going to be less, and the quality, I believe, is going to be less as well. That's not right. That's not what the American people want.
Democrats insist part of the problem is Republicans are rooting for failure.
This is an important step forward. No one wants to go back to the point of having our insurance companies decide whether or not we get health care or not. I'm rooting for us to be able to make this work.
Yet it's former administration officials who alleged in the Washington Post over the weekend that the White House delayed enacting a series of regulations on health care and other issues in 2012 to prevent them from blowing up during the campaign. Carney stressed that in the election year, the administration did issue more than 20 rules related to the Affordable Care Act alone.
Our goal is to move rules hastily, but to maximize the effectiveness and benefits of the rules we complete.
Now, the president will meet here tomorrow with a slew of top tech executives from companies like Apple, Facebook, Twitter, and Netflix. They're going to talk about the NSA issue, but also about healthcare.gov. Undoubtedly, some top officials here wish that meeting had happened before October 1st. Brett.
Ed Henry live on the North Lawn. Ed, thank you. The critical Senate vote on the budget compromise is scheduled for tomorrow. This evening, Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel tells us about a hugely important bill with largely tepid support.
The pressure is on Senate Democratic leadership to deliver votes for the bipartisan budget compromise crafted by Republican Congressman Paul Ryan and Democrat Senator Patty Murray. Democratic Whip Dick Durbin predicted Sunday it won't be easy.
The struggle is still on in the United States Senate. We will need about 8 Republicans to come our way. I feel we'll have a good, strong showing from the Democratic side, but we need bipartisan support to pass it.
Several key conservatives, including South Dakota's John Thune and Alabama's Jeff Sessions, say they cannot support the deal.
Well, I'm a little uneasy that we're going to say we're going to pay for that extra spending in years 8 and 10 over the next 10-year budget.
Florida's Marco Rubio came out early against the measure.
It raises it by $60 billion, the spending, but it pays it over 10 years. Well, you know how that works. I mean, over the next couple of years, they'll forget it, and they'll keep borrowing more.
Utah Republican Orrin Hatch announced this afternoon he'll support it, saying, quote, with Democrats controlling the White House and the Senate, it is the best we could hope for. Wisconsin Republican Ron Johnson says he's backing it because continuing resolutions are wasteful.
I can't emphasize enough how moving from one successive continuing resolution to another, that's a really bad way of funding the federal government. It's not good in terms of effective and efficient government spending, and certainly does harm our economy.
Another yes is Arizona Republican Senator John McCain, who favors the deal's adjustment of sequester cuts on the Pentagon.
As you know, I'm particularly sensitive about the military. I've talked to our military leaders. They say they badly need this relief.
Virginia Democrat Mark Warner says while not perfect, this measure is a step in the right direction.
Providing certainty for 2 years is important, as well as the fact that it'll allow the budget process to make smarter cuts in sequestration by actually having an appropriations bill. You can pick and choose rather than this kind of mindless across-the-board cutting approach.
And Ryan says it does provide stability.
But it's important that it prevents government shutdowns. It's important that it rejects tax increases.
The likely scenario is leadership rounds up 60 votes to proceed. Then some of those facing tough re-election battles are permitted to vote no on final passage, and the deal still wins approval with a simple majority. Brett?
Mike Emanuel live on the Hill tonight. Mike, thank you. Coming up, New Hampshire Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte in our center seat tonight. If you have anything you'd like to ask her, let me know at facebook.com/BrettBairSR or on Twitter @BrettBair. Use the hashtag Special Report. As you've seen, there's an extraordinary lack of passion for the bill, it seems, on the part of people who support it. But that doesn't mean there are not good points and bad points that can be pointed out. Here to do just that tonight is senior political analyst Britt Hume. Good evening, Britt.
Hi, Brett. The best thing for congressional Republicans about the bipartisan budget bill the Senate will vote on Tuesday is that if it passes, it will get them past another struggle over spending and taxes without either a threatened or actual government shutdown. People may not think much of the government these days, but they don't like shutdowns, and they never blame the Democrats when they happen. The worst thing about the deal is that it lifts in part the legally mandated caps on federal spending for 2 years. Those caps had actually reduced government spending for 2 years running, a rare occurrence. But that actually brings us to the second best thing about the deal, which is that it spares the defense budget, already heavily depleted under President Obama, from a deep further round of cuts. For complex budgetary reasons, the military was set to absorb most of next year's mandated reductions. Finally, the deal did not go down well with some right-wing groups, some of which spend most of their energies and money trying to defeat incumbent Republican politicians. Fear of them drove the defund/shutdown strategy that failed so spectacularly last October. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has already declared war on one of these groups, the Senate Conservatives Fund. House Speaker John Boehner's outburst last week against such groups, though he did not name them, is a sign he's fed up with them too, and not afraid of them. That's probably the third best thing. Brett?
What about the political fallout? You know, for Paul Ryan, conventional wisdom is that this plays pretty well for him. What about the people voting no who may run for president? The Marco Rubios, the Rand Pauls, the Ted Cruz.
Rand Paul is someone one would expect to vote no on a deal like this. Marco Rubio, not so much. So you have to ask the question, why would Marco Rubio be against this? I think the reason is very simple. Marco Rubio would like to run for president. He alienated the right wing of his party with his stance on immigration and got in real hot water with them. And he's been working, I think, assiduously to regain their support ever since. You know, he was against he voted, I think, in a lot of people's eyes, with the Tea Party on the shutdown. In the end, he voted against that deal, and he's voting against this. One assumes that over time, perhaps he will adhere to a different course. But right now, I think he's doing what he's doing because he got in hot water and wants to get out.
All right, Brett, we'll watch it. Thank you.
You bet.
Stocks were up today. The Dow gained 129. The S&P 500 finished ahead 11. The Nasdaq was up 29. Up next, an explosive ruling with huge cultural implications regarding marriage. But first, here's what some of our Fox affiliates across the country are covering tonight. Fox 5 in New York with what some bar owners are calling their biggest day of the year. This weekend, SantaCon saw hundreds of people dressed as the Jolly Elf, getting really jolly by consuming copious amounts of Christmas spirits. Fox 5 in Washington with how the Postal Service is handling its busiest day of the year. Nearly 3 times as many letters and packages will go out today as on any normal day. And this is a live look at Boston from our Fox affiliate there, WFXT. The big story there tonight is the bomb threat that forced the evacuation of 4 buildings on Harvard University's campus today. Police were unable to find anything. The incident occurred as students were taking final exams. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.